Hey everybody, welcome to the GMG review. Today we're taking a look at Death Battletome Ossiarch Bonereapers, one of a two-part Battletome release for this weekend. I think pre-release comes out this weekend, comes out the weekend after, for Warhammer Age of Sigmar that was kindly sent as a complimentary digital review copy by Games Workshop. So, if you haven't seen one of these digital reviews, we're going to go over the broad strokes of the book, any changes I notice. I'm going to get out my old AoS app and see where we can dig in and see what's cool and new. So some stuff I'm not going to spend too much time on, stuff that was on Warhammer Community, such as the command point change, where basically the number of units in your army is equal to the number of bonus command points you get, or the fact that like the army bespoke command points and command traits can be used more than once per turn, such as upping your ward save and stuff like that. Because it's been commented on to death and it's not necessarily that new. So the Bonereapers, they're basically the legions of Nagash. They're his like elite, basically like imagine them as like a death version of what the Slaves to Darkness, Chaos Warriors, or the Stormcast Eternals or the Iron Jaws are to each of their sort of parent factions. They're the like elite of the elite. They wear heavy bone armor and they come to steal your bones. They tax the mortal realms, taking a bone tithe. They're like, hey, Nagash wants his bones, and they look around and go like, well, I'm still using mine. And then you have to fight them because you don't want to give away your bones because they've yet to hatch out of your body. Your skeleton is just waiting to hatch. That's what's happening when you die. That's the grim darkness of Age of Sigmar. So short story long, they've gotten a glow up. It's a standard 3rd edition AoS glow up where they've got some grand strategies and some battle tactics, and all of their battle traits and stuff have been streamlined into the current version of the rules. And this is a two-parter, obviously, with the release of the other Death faction, which is the Soulblight Gravelords as well. They have 6 sub-factions and legions you can take. They don't take battle shock tests. They all have a 6+ ward save and a command ability to jump into a 5+. They're incredibly durable. Their swords get exploding 6s to double their hits. Then Nader, Bueller. And then Relentless Discipline means that if you have 3 or more units, you get an extra command point. 5 more units, you get 2 extra command points. And 7 more units, you get 3 extra command points. So if you're going first and your general's alive, you'd have like a minimum probably of 3, and then it could be up to a maximum of 5 taking the first turn in a battle round if you have 7 or more units. So start of the game, you're gonna have lots of command points. And honestly, losing them as you go on, it sucks, but it won't be that big of a deal because you have less units to use them on, generally speaking anyway. So those are the core battle traits, and then you get your extra commands, and there is a whole bunch of them. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 total. We've already heard about Impenetrable Ranks, where you get to add one of their ward rolls. We've also heard about Reform Ranks, where you can fall back and still charge. There's also Unstoppable Advance. Use them when you make a normal move. When you're picked in the movement phase, do so. Add 3 to their move characteristics, that's pretty cool. Reknit Construct, it's a healing one. The unit receives the command must be a friendly Bonereapers model that's more than 3 from the enemy. Heal D3 wounds allocated to the unit, or if no wounds are allocated to it, you can return a number of slain models with a combined wound characteristic of D3 or less. So you can bring guys back and heal. Counter Strike, uses this in the enemy charge phase after an enemy unit's finished a charge move. The unit that receives the command must be a friendly Bonereapers unit that's within 3 of the enemy that made that charge move, and more than 3 from all their enemy units. And you add 1 of the wound rolls for their attacks. So basically, someone charges you and you're only fighting that 1 unit, you get to issue this command, and now you're getting +1 to wound. Bludgeon, you can use this command ability at the start of the combat phase. The unit receives the command must be a friendly Bonereapers unit, and their rend goes up by 1. Unflinching Coordination is the final one. Using the combat phase after a hero has fought for the first time that phase. The unit that receives the command must be a friendly Ossiarch Bonereapers unit that's not yet fought, and then it'll be within 3 of the enemy and wholly within 12 of that hero. So basically it's a 1-2. Think of it like the Galician Champions ability from this year's Battle Pack, except you can do it forever in this Battletome. So those are the core battle traits. It's a good, it basically takes the essence of the old Battletome and transforms it in. I mean, people will probably agree or disagree that that's a good thing, but you're getting the ability to not like have a gajillion command points, but you have the same core system now that's running on, which I think is useful because then you don't have to worry about magic items or things that issue or receive or refund command points. It'll interact with all the other battle tomes better. So discipline points being like set aside was really powerful in certain ways, but also just didn't it meant the flow of the game. They were an outsider, so I like that it's just back into the core mechanics. And these are all seem useful and in tune with the current edition. All right, so let's talk about some command traits. You've got a grand total of 6 here, I believe. Oh god, I hate scrolling through this because it lags. There we go, command traits. We got Dark Acolyte for your wizards. The first spell you attempt to cast in that phase cannot be unbound. Show of Superiority. While the general's in the battlefield, roll dice before the opponent spends any command points. On a 5+, your opponent must spend 2 to issue it instead of 1. So like, basically on a 5+, you're always techlessing them. That's really powerful. Mighty Archaeosin. Oh, geez. Stop that. Mighty Archaeosin. Ignore negative modifiers to save rolls for attacks target general, so you're just a fixed save. Crafted from Beast Bone, though they may appear cultured and refined. After the general is fought for the first time, at the start of each battle round, add one of the attack characteristic of the general's weapons for the rest of the battle. And it's cumulative. That's pretty cool. So basically, once they start fighting, they hulk up every turn because the beast bones inside of them start to make them angrier. An Aura of Sterility. Nobody wants that. Subtract 1 from hit and wound rolls for attacks made with missile weapons. The target friendly Bonereapers fully within 12 of them. That's really powerful too. And then Diversionary Tactics. Subtract 3 from charge rolls for enemy units that attempt to charge within 12 inches of this general. Huh. All of those are incredibly powerful. Like, can't be unbound. Like, what? These command traits are bonkers. -3 from charge rolls, attempting to charge within 12 of this unit. -1 to hit and wound rolls for attacks made with missile weapons that target friendly Ossiarch Bonereapers units wholly within 12 of this general. You know what that does to Caradron? That's insane. That's just like, keep your whole army in a 24-inch circle, and the whole opponent army is -1/-1 against them in the shooting phase. Like, the Hulk up one, it seems like it would be good in any other army. It pales in comparison to some of these other ones. The -3 charge rolls is crazy. Like, the hulking up your attacks and the no modifiers are really cool. The 5+ techless ability where you double the command point spend is really cool too, but like, the -3 from charge rolls for units that attempt to charge within 12 is crazy, again, because you can bubble your army around him. And the Aura of Sterility, if you're fighting a shooting army, is also crazy. If you take 2 command traits in your army, taking both of those that's punishing. Yeah, that's a lot. Well, let's talk artifacts then, with the command traits being fairly off the chain. Relics of the Empire, so this is for your heroes, and there's a separate one for Mortisans. Mortisans? Load of Saturation, +1 to ward saves. So just like your base, and you can still CP it for a 4+ ward. Marrow Pact, each time this bearer fights, after all the attacks have been resolved, you can heal up to a number of wounds allocated to the bearer equal to the number of wounds and mortal wounds caused by those attacks that are allocated to enemy units. So you kill, you heal. Mind Blade, pick a bearer's melee weapon. At the end of the combat phase, if any wounds or mortal wounds caused by attacks made with that weapon were allocated to an enemy hero in that phase, and that hero was not slain, the hero cannot carry out heroic actions for the rest of the game. Sure. +1 ward's cool, and healing when you hit's cool, but like no heroic actions that's also kind of crazy. Helm of Tyranny, enemy units cannot receive the Inspiring Presence command within 3 of the bearer. In addition, if the enemy fails a battle shock test within 3, add D3 to the number of models that flee. All of these Aura ones are bonkers. Like, the ones that hulk you up are cool, and I guess like the Cavalor and stuff are cool, but like, yeah, the Helm of Tyranny, the -3 to charge rolls within 12, and the -1 to hit and wound against everything within 12 of him, wholly within 12 of him, those are all crazy. And then the Treasures of the Mortisans, you get 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's one for each type, basically. There's one for the Soul Reaper. It's -1 to hit and wound rolls for attacks that target the bearer if they're within 3 of any enemy units. So basically it's like a distractor. Artisan's Key, it's a Bone Shaper only. Before you use the bearer's Bone Shaper ability, roll a die. On a 3+, you can pick 2 units within 6 instead of 1. You can pick 1 unit within 6 to be affected twice instead as well. Bones of the Abyss for the Soul Mason. Each time the bearer successfully casts a spell, it's not unbound. Add 1 of the attack characteristic of the bearer's ossified claw until the end of the turn, because it gets all mad. And then the Gothazar Cartouche for the Ossifector. Oh my god, the names in this army. Add 1 of the wound rolls for attacks made with melee weapons by friendly Bonereapers units wholly within 9 of the bearer. So yeah, that's a real reason to take the Ossifector. +1 to wound within 9 is that's a big deal for a mostly melee army with some bits and pieces of shooting. Yeah, I mean, the Mortesian ones aren't, like, it's just which type you're taking, so they're all tied to them. The Ossiarch one feels really, really good. The Artisan's Key for the double heals is cool, too. Yeah, the ones are only really affecting the bearer. And that Helm of Tyranny to make people extra flee. If I was taking, I probably just wouldn't take one for the hero and just take the Mortesian one for the +1 to wound. And then Spell Lores. You can empower the Nadronite weapons, which triggers on a 5 then instead of a 6. Protection of Nagash. This spell is, that's cast on 5, range 24. Pick a friendly Ossiarch Bonereapers unit, make their weapon exploding on 5. Protection of Nagash is cast on 6. If cast, at the end of any phase, if any wounds or mortal wounds were allocated to the caster in that phase from an attack made with a melee weapon, and the caster was not slain, remove them from the battlefield and set them anywhere in the battlefield more than 9 from the enemy. And then it's unbound. So it's your, like, Nightcrawler bamf out of combat. Again, incredibly powerful on Nagash himself. Reinforced Constructs. It's a spell that's been casting value of 5 and range of 18. Pick a friendly Ossiarch Bonereaper unit, wholly within range invisible. Until your next hero phase, they have a ward save of 4+ against mortal wounds. Drain Vitality, cast on 6, range 18. If cast, pick an enemy unit, wholly within range invisible. Sorry, within range invisible, not wholly. Until the next hero phase, subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made by that unit, and subtract 1 from save rolls. So a double debuff still. Mortal Contract. Mortal Contract! Cast on 7 in range of 18. If cast, pick 1 enemy unit within range, visible to the caster. For the rest of the battle, roll a dice at the end of each phase in which any attacks made by a unit inflicted any damage on friendly Ossiarch Bonereapers unit. On a 3+, the enemy unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. You cannot pick the same enemy unit to be affected by this spell more than once per battle. So basically, the more they fight, the more they get damaged. You curse them. Soul Release. Soul Release is a spell that's casting value of 5. If cast into your next hero phase, enemy reserve units and enemy summon units cannot be set up within 12 of the caster. The range of the spell must be measured from the caster, even if an ability would allow you to measure it from somewhere else. And then the 6 Legions. All right, well, the 6 Legions, I mean, the Petrifex Elite was the original OG Legion that was the best. Just because of its ability. These have been patched over a bunch of times, so we got all new Legion traits. They're all just like, pick a Legion, get a thing. There will be some battle line unlocks and stuff at the end, too, which we'll talk about. The Mortis Praetorians. Once per turn during the enemy charge phase, after an enemy unit makes a charge move, pick a friendly Mortis Praetorian unit within 12 of the enemy, and more than 3, and they can try and charge. So you have a counter charge once per turn. Petrifex Elite, subtract 1 from the damage inflicted via each successful attack that targets a Petrifex Elite Hekatos and Gothazar Harvester unit. So just the Unstoppable Juggernauts. It doesn't affect the whole army. You just -1 damage on your big guys. Staliarch Lords, you can reroll charge rolls for units that have a mount in that army. The Ivory Host, add 1 of the number of hits scored by Nadronite weapons. With an unmodified hit roll that was 6, and any wounds or mortal wounds were allocated to that unit earlier this turn. So if you wound or mortal wound them, they get angry, and they get 3 hits instead of 2 for their exploding Nadronite weapons. The Null Myriad, it has the Eldritch Nulls. You can roll a dice each time a friendly Null Myriad unit wholly within 9 of any friendly Null Myriad Mortesans or a friendly Archon is affected by a spell cast by the enemy unit or the abilities of an endless spell. Summoned by an enemy unit. On a 2+, you just ignore them. So, cool. Just ignore all magic if you're within 9 of your Mortesans or Archon. That's pretty great. The Crematorians, Immolation. Each time a friendly Crematorians model is slain, before removing them, pick an enemy unit within 3 and roll a number of dice equal to their wound characteristic. And for every 5+, they take a mortal wound. That's pretty great. You get the Thunderstrike ability on 5s. That's pretty cool because you like burn down. For a melee army, I actually really like that. And that's it for the Ghost core mechanics. So let's talk about some battle scrolls. Obviously, there's Path to Glory and stuff in here. Guess what you're doing in the Path to Glory mission? You're trying to take bones. Guess why? Because you're the Bonereapers. End statement. Everything's around getting bones. Because that's what you do. So we're into the War Scrolls. And we're going to start with the big man himself. It's Nagash. I did not notice any changes. But, I mean, he has A whole lot of rules. His move is now potentially changing. That's one change. His move now can change. It starts at 10 instead of 9. Goes down to 7 at his lowest bracket. His brackets are still... Actually, they've changed too. 0 to 9, then 10 to 12, 13 to 15, and 16 plus. They've changed quite a bit, actually. So I guess I didn't look at that. I assumed it was going to be the same when I flipped through this the first time, because I was like, they won't change Nagash. He's everywhere. Oh, they changed Nagash. So he did change quite a bit. Alakanash, his big weapon, is the same. I mostly focus on the weapons. Zephit Nebtar now has a set number of attacks at 4. And then is 3+ to wound, that's gone up. And then still -2, 3 damage. And the Spectral Claws and Daggers, 6 attacks, 4s and 4s, instead of 3s and 4s, and 1 damage. So worse to hit on that, better to wound on Zephit Nekbar, and fixed attacks. Still flies, still has the companion for his spirit hosts. He's a War Master, so he's always your general, and someone else can still be the general. The number of spells he can cast is equal to his damage track, so it goes 8, 6, 5, 4 on his damage track, and then the Invocation of Nagash has a 24-inch range, 18, 12, and then 9. He's +3 to cast, Unbind, and Dispel because of his staff. Invocation of Nagash, start of your hero phase. For each friendly summonable, Mordant, or Ossiarch Bonereapers unit, heal up to 3 wounds allocated to the unit, and if they don't have any wounds, return models with combined wound characteristic of 3 or less. And the range is equal to his damage table. So it starts at 24. His more arcane, friendly death units have a ward save of 5+. That means that you can CP them to a 4+ with that Bonereaper one ability. And then you could have a 3+ ward if you're taking the character ability. So, I mean, you're paying a lot of points for Nagash. So cool that you get lots of death abilities. Supreme Lord of the Undead. At the start of your hero phase, you can pick a friendly summonable, Mordant, or Ossiarch Bonereapers unit with a wound characteristic of 3 or less that's been destroyed and roll a die. On a 3+, a new replacement unit with half as the number of models rounded up as returned. Replacement units must be set up wholly within 12 of this unit and more than 9 from all enemy units. And units set up in this way cannot move in the following movement phase, and they can only be replaced once. So you're always going to get half your army back once per turn, basically. Or half of a unit back once per turn. The 9 books in Nagash. The number of spells this unit can cast is equal to the damage table. Yep, still there. Hand of Dust. Cast on each range 3 inches. If you cast it, pick an enemy unit, then take a dice and hide it in your hand. Still exactly the same. If they pick the one holding the dice, the spell has no effect. If they pick the other one, you're dead. And then Soul Stealer. Cast on 7, range 24. If cast, pick an enemy unit within range invisible. They take D3 mortal wounds. And if you cast on a 9+, it's D6 mortal wounds instead of D3. And you heal a wound for everyone that's done. Yeah, you're still pretty great, Nagash. How many points are you, though? Because that is the question. And your army's, like, built around him. The fact that half your... Like, if you take reinforced units and then have half of them come back every turn, that is... or half of one of them come back every turn when they die. Plus all of his built-in healing and his ward increase. I mean, you can make a very durable army out of Nagash. I like that all of the point values for the Bonereapers fit on one page because there's so few units. Makes me happy. Nagash costs 965 points. That makes sense. I just wanted to quickly zip over there. I'll go through all of them later on, but I mean, he's a big boy. He's got all the rules. Let's talk about his best friend, the second biggest boy, who's 450-ish points, Catacross. He's still ginormous too. Core rules, core stats are the same. His like core stat plot. His weapon Indicat is exactly the same. Shield of Mortis is exactly the same. Ritual Blades, no longer called Nadirite Daggers, are 3+, 3+, -1, 1 damage, exactly the same. Core stats look the same. His damage track, however, has changed quite a bit. 0, so his retinue blades have, then there's his retinue. Blades, they have 10 attacks to start, and then 9, 8, 7 as people die. Indicat has 1, 2, 3, 4, because he gets more involved. And the Shield of Mortis is 1, 2, 3, 4 as well, for his attacks. Because basically, as his retinue dies, he starts to get more and more involved and go after people. Still War Master, companion weapons, they don't get his artifact on them if you had one. The Prime Necrophone, once per turn, this unit can issue a command to a friendly Bone Reaper anywhere in the battlefield without a command point being spent. The Gnosis Scrollbearer, and these guys don't die. Like, there's no fall off now for his abilities. They last all the way to the end. Add one of the hero phase. At the start of the hero phase, you can pick an enemy unit in the battlefield until your next hero phase. Subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made by the unit that targets Bone Reapers. Spy Master, once per turn. Spend a command point. When your opponent receives a command point on a 5+, it's lost. Do nothing, this one's mine. At the bottom of this unit's damage table, while it's within 3 inches of any enemy heroes. So as soon as, like, that's awesome. So as soon as, like, a hero comes nearby and he's not just fighting plebes, he gets off the thing and he uses all of his heightened stats for Indicat and the Shield of Mortis. That's amazing. He just gets involved because there's a hero there. It's worth killing. That's really funny. Mortarch of the Necropolis. Pick 3 different, in your hero phase, pick 3 different Bone Reapers units wholly within 24. If that unit is an Immortus Guard, Necropolis Stalkers unit, you can either heal up to 3 wounds allocated to them, or bring back guys with a wound characteristic of 3 or less. If they're an Immortus Guard, if they are an Immortus Guard or Stalkers unit, you can heal up to 3 wounds allocated to them. If no wounds, on a 3+1 comes back. Yeah, so if it's not Immortus Guard or Necropolis Stalkers, it's 3 or wounds characteristic equal to 3. If it is one of them, they heal 3 and 1 comes back on a 3+ otherwise. And then Endless Duty. Command ability in the hero phase. The unit that receives the command must be a Bone Reapers unit. Until the next hero phase, they get a +1 attack to their melee weapons. And then Supreme Lord of the Bone Reapers Legions. Use command ability in the hero phase. If that unit's more than 3 from all enemy units, this unit must receive the command. Until your next hero phase, add 1 of the hit rolls for attacks made by friendly Ossiarch Bone Reapers units wholly within 24, and add 1 of the save rolls for units wholly within 24 of this hero. So basically, buff the whole army for 1 CP, +1 to hit, and +1 to save. So like he just does all of that. He does like an all-out attack plus all-out defense all the time, and he's half as much as Nagash, but he's still pretty amazing. The biggest glow up here is just that he doesn't lose his all like companion abilities when he gets wounded. I think that's huge and actually a giant improvement for him and would make him worth taking. Because the +1 to hit and save like across the battlefield, combined with how crazy the rest of the ward save stuff that or command ability stuff that he has is pretty awesome. And you can still get a command trait too, so you can still have the -3 charge just by having someone else be the general on top of him because he's a War Master. So you're not really losing out on anything. All right, Archon the Black. Core stats, he's gained 3 wounds. He's got 14 wounds now, and a 3+ save. So he's gotten better on his core stats. He's worse to hit with Zephyr Tar. He's 4+, 3+ now, but it's flat 2 damage. Kanish On is flat 2 damage now as well. The Ebon Claws are the same. Number of attacks may have changed though. His damage track, I'll look in a second. And his Spectral Claws and Daggers are forced to hit now instead of 5s. Wound track, he's got 16-inch move at start because it goes 7, 0 to 7, 8 to 9, 10 to 11, and 12+. His move track's 16 to start, goes down to 7 at the end. Never goes down to 4. Basically, they drop that off the track. And then he's +2 to cast at the top of the Staff of Spirits, +1 at the bottom. The Ebon Claws start with 6 stacks and go down to 3 at the end. It's 6, 5, 4, 3. He can cast 3 on Bind 3. He knows all the Lord of the Ossian sorcery spells on top of his normal ones that he has. He's a War Master. He can Feast on Souls. Feast your Souls. Each time this unit fights, after all the attacks have been resolved, you can heal up to a number of wounds equal to number of wounds, mortal wounds that you caused. So basically, up to a maximum of 6 wounds back for killing stuff. Staff of Spirits. Add the Staff of Spirits value on this unit's damage table to your casting, dispelling, and unbinding rolls. So +2 and then +1. First of the Mortarchs. Add 6 to the range of spells by friendly Death Wizards while they're wholly within 18 of this unit. That's handy. Mortarch of Sacrament. In your hero phase, pick 3 different Bone Reapers units wholly within 3 of this unit. It's the same as the one. It's the Necropolis Guard, Immortus Guard. It's the same thing that what's-his-face has, that Catacross has, the healing thing. Either heal 3 wounds or up to 3 wounds with the models, or 3 and a 3+, a big guy comes back. And then Curse of Years. Cast on 6, range 18. If cast, pick an enemy unit wholly within range invisible to the caster, and roll 10 dice. For each 6, suffer a mortal wound, and you can roll another dice. For each 5+, On the extra dice, the target suffers a mortal wound. You can roll another dice for each 4+. Keep rolling until... So basically, if you roll a bunch of... And it gets easier each time, right? And then keep rolling dice in this way, causing mortal wounds and reducing the roll you need by 1 each time until there's either no mortal wounds caused or the target is destroyed. A roll of 1 always fails. Oh, that's really good. So on 10 dice, you should get 1/6. But you might spike and get like 3 to 4, and then it's on a 5, and then it's on a 4, and then it's on a 3. The math makes it not that terrifying, but you could have you could liquefy something with that. That could be an incredibly powerful. Like, I like that it still feels incredibly powerful because the potential for it is incredibly high. The potential for it is infinite wounds. And like other things like the Maw, it's always like a straight 4+ dice roll to keep doing the infinite wounds. That one just feels more dramatic for some reason, and I really like that. All right, we're on to the Lee Archcavalos Xantos, I believe his name is. There he is. How's he looking? Lost some move, 10-inch move now. But they got that +3, that cav ability too that you can get the from the 1 Legion. He's got 5 attacks now with his sword, 3+3+, -2 damage. So he gains some -2 to his rend now, instead of -1. And the hooves and teeth are 3s and 3s. 6 attacks, no battle shield attack now. But the hooves, teeth, and barbed tails are 6 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1 damage. He's a War Master as well. I love how many War Masters in this army, so you can still take the special characters and get other abilities. He's got Will of the Legions, free issued command once per turn, unstoppable charge. After the unit makes a charge move, you roll an unmodified charge roll number of dice, and for every 5+, take a mortal wound. And it can move an extra 3 inches when it piles in if it made a charge in the same turn. The Dark Lance, add 1 of the damage characteristic of the unit's Dark Lance. If it made a charge in the same turn, so it's damage 3. And then Still Their Breath. Command in the combat phase, the unit must receive the command. This unit must receive the command. Until the next hero phase, add 1 of wound rolls for attacks made by this with melee weapons by friendly Mortis Praetorians that are wholly within 12 of this unit. That's not bad. Then we're looking at Vokmortian. This is the, like, I'm wearing my own tomb character that was in one of the 2-player battle boxes. He's got a 4+ save now. That's an improvement. His Gaze of Death is flat 2 damage now. Still 3s and 2s, still 1 attack. His Staff Retribution is flat 2 damage now as well. Cast 2 Unbind 2 still. Knows all the spells from the lore of Ossian Sorcery. Contracting the Gash. Up to a 3+. Start of the combat phase, you can pick an enemy unit within 3 and roll a die. On a 3+, your opponent must spend a command point to pick this unit to be the target of that enemy's unit's attacks in that phase. So basically, it costs you a CP to fight him. And then Grim Warnings. Subtract 2 from the bravery characteristic of enemy units while they're within 12 of this unit. If you're your general. Sorry, if the model picked to be the enemy general has been slain, subtract 3 from the bravery characteristic of those units instead of 2. Because he's called you out with the contract. And then his spell is Mortal Touch. Mortal Touch is a spell that's a casting value of 7 and a range of 1 inch. Pick an enemy unit within range invisible to the caster and roll a die on a 4+, the model slain. The range of the spell cannot be modified, must be measured from the caster, even if it would allow you to measure it from anywhere else. So it's only if you're like next to them and you basically call it their contract. I love that. That's a cool ability. So then we have I'd forgotten about this guy, this new guy. We have the Mortizan Ossiarch, the guy with his hands in the air. Mortizan Ossiarch. Why can't I see you in here? You must be new. Bone shape. Oh, this is the new guy. That's why I can't see him in here, because he's the new guy. He's been on the community, but I'll go through him anyway. Move 5, wounds 5, 4+ save, 10 bravery. His talons are 3 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1/2 damage. You can pick a Gothazar Harvester or a Mortek Crawler or a Morghast, wholly within 12 of this unit, and pick one of the following augmentations in the hero phase. Ossified Barbs. Rend goes up by 1. That's melee weapons. Accelerated Calcification. The first wound or mortal wound caused to that unit each phase is negated. Enhanced Claw Span. If the unmodified hit roll for an attack made with this missile weapon by this unit's a 6, that attack scores 2 hits in the target instead of 1. Make a wound roll and save roll for each hit. And then Empower Ossification is a spell that has a casting value of 5 at a 24-inch range. If successfully cast, the caster can pick up to 3 different enemy friendly Gothazar Harvesters, Mortek Crawlers, or Morghast units in any combination that are wholly in range to benefit from the Refined Creations ability of instead of 1 unit that's wholly within 12. So basically 3 units can get it instead of 1 if you cast the spell. So he jacks up your big guys, which is cool. All right, the Mortesian Bone Shaper. He has the same core stats. His melee weapon is better to wound and 2 damage now. So he's 3 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1, 2 damage. You get an attack as well. Cast 1 and bind 1. He's a Bone Shaper. In your hero phase, you can pick 1 friendly Ossiarch Bonereapers unit that's wholly within 6 of this unit. If that unit is not an Immortus Guard or Necropolis Stalker unit, you can either heal up to 3 wounds allocated to that unit, or if no wounds have been allocated to that unit, you can return a number of slain models with a wound characteristic of 3 or less. He's a healer. And it's the same 3+, bring a big guy back. He's basically got the same ability that all the big guys have, all the big War Masters. And then Shard Storm casts on 5, range of 18. If cast, pick an enemy unit within range invisible, and roll a number of dice equal to the number of models in the unit. And on a 5+, they take a mortal wound. Again, a very good, like, big unit shredder. The Soul Mason, who looks like David Lopan. He's one of my favorites. I love the Mortesian Soul Mason, because he's walking around in his super legs. He's got a leg robot. It's so freaking cool. His core stats, he's got a 4+ save now. That's nice. His weapon core stats, he's got a better attack now. So 2 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1, 2 damage for his staff. And the claws are 2 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1, 1 damage. So better to hit on everything. Cast 2 and bind 2. The wizards in this army are so powerful, like just from a casting point of view. Knows all the spells from the lore of Ossian sorcery. He's got his Mortek Throne. At the end of the hero phase, roll a dice for this unit. On a 1, nothing happens. On a 2 to 5, the unit can immediately attempt to cast Soul Guide, even if the casting attempt has already been made for that spell. On a 6, the unit can immediately attempt to cast Soul Guide D3 times, even if the casting attempt is made and failed. And then Soul Guide, cast on 6, range 24. Pick a friendly Mortek Guard or Cavalos Death Riders unit wholly within range invisible, and add 1 of the wound rolls for their attacks. He just keeps jacking up all the fighters. All right, the Soul Reaper. I do love this miniature. This is I really like the weird aesthetic of the Bonereapers. I think it's super cool. He's got the same core stats with the 4+ save. His weapon is identical, 3 attacks, 3s and 3s. He's -2 rend now. Cast 1 and bind 1. Each time he fights, you can say it will unleash its Reaping Strike. If you do so, add 2 to the attack characteristic of the unit's melee weapons until the end of the phase, but this unit can only target models that have 5 or more models, or units that have 5 or more models. And then Soul Blast. Cast on 6 in range 12. If successfully cast at the start of any 1 phase before your next hero phase, you can pick an enemy unit within range and visible. They take D3 mortal wounds. If the unit's within 3 inches, they take 3 mortal wounds instead. It's like a better, a better Arcane Bolt. All right, on to the core units. The basic Mortek Guard. They are still some of the nicer skeleton models ever made. Core stats are the same. 4-inch move, 4+ save, 1 wound. 4-inch move, 4+ save, 1 wound, and bravery 10. Their weapon profiles, blades are the same. Spears are worst to hit, 4s and 4s, -1, 1 damage. So 4s to hit. But they gain a rend. And then the Soul Cleaver Great Blade is 2 attacks, 3s and 4s now, -1, 2 damage. So better damage, worse to wound. But remember, you could have auras of +1 to wound everywhere. Champ gets extra attack. Standard Bearer is add 1 to run rolls and charge rolls. And then Shield Wall, you can use command ability at the start of the combat phase. The command can only be issued by the unit's Mortek Hekatos, and this unit must receive the command. Ignore modifiers positive, negative to their saves. So, I mean, that's going to undo the +1 save that you're getting from your boss, but if you're like going in super high rend stuff, you can do it to like lock down the unit. Your Immortus Guard, the big guys. They gain a wound, 5 wounds now. The Dread Halberds are extra attack, so 3 attacks now. They can issue commands themselves because they're elite. And then Soulbound Protectors, If a friendly Ossiarch Bonereapers hero is within 3, then before you allocate a wound or mortal wound to them on a 2+, it goes onto them instead and is negated. Crushing Assault uses command ability once per battle. After the unit's fought for the first time in the combat phase, the command can only be issued by a model in this unit, and the unit must receive the commands. They can fight again. The strike last effect applies when it fights for the second time. And then your Necropolis Stalkers. Again, very cool models. Gain a wound as well for a 5+ wound. Their weapon profiles. 3-inch range on the falchions now, which is cool because they are huge weapons. 3 attacks, 3s and 3s, -2 damage, so better to hit. And then Spirit Blades, 4 attacks instead, 3s and 3s, -2 damage, only a 1-inch range on those. They're also elite. And they're different aspects when they spin the skull, like in the Transformers movie. They get the Blade Strike, add 1 to hit rolls. Blade Parry, add 1 to save rolls. Destroyer Aspect, add 1 to wound rolls. And Precision, add 1 to the damage. So they can be damaged 3. Whoa! I mean, why not always just be damaged 3? Start of the combat phase. Hunt and Kill. Uses command ability in your hero phase. The command can only be issued by a model in this unit, and they must receive it until the next hero phase. The unit can run and still charge. Whew. In addition, until your next hero phase, models this unit can pass across terrain features in the same manner as models that can fly. No big deal, just 1 CP. They fly now, can also run and charge and be damaged 3. Wow. All right, the Liege Cavalos. This is your mounted hero. The non-special character one. He is the same core stat-wise. His weapons. Gain some attacks. 5 attacks for his Commander's Blade now. And then the Natterknight Battle Shield is gone. Hooves, Teeth, and Tails. You get 6 attacks though. 3s and 3s, -1 damage. They're the same. Well, the Legion, you can do a free command once per turn. Unstoppable Charge is the same as the special character one. Endless Duty. The unit receives it must be you get +1 attack. And then your Death Riders. Death Riders. Also battle line. Lost some move, 10-inch move now. The Natterknight Blades are the same. The Netherite Spears gained a rend, lost it to hits. They're 4s and 4s. Hooves and Teeth are 3s and 4s now as opposed to 4s and 3s. And then they got mount attacks, +1 attack for the champion. Add 1 to run and charge rolls for having a banner. Same unstoppable charge, 5+ mortal wounds equal to the charge roll. Death Rider Wedge, you can use command ability in the charge phase. The command can only be issued by this unit's Mortech Hekatos, and the model receiving it must be this unit. Until the end of the phase, this unit can pass across models with a wound characteristic of 3 or less as if they could fly. Pretty cool. They just like pass through, basically. All right, the big guys, the Mortech Crawler. It has the same core stats. Well, let's look at its Dread Catapult. So there's 3 aspects now. There's a Cauldron of Torment, 6 to 18. It is... They used to all be 6 to 36. They've shortened the ranges on 2 of them. So Cauldron of Torment is now 6 to 18, 2d6 attacks, 3s and 3s, 2 damage. The Necrotic Skulls is 6 to 24, 4 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1, 2 damage. And the Cursed Stele is 6 to 36 like it used to be. 1 attack, 2+, 3+, -2, d3 + 3 damage. Each time they shoot, they must choose one of the aspects. And then Deathly Barrage. After this unit shoots, roll a dice for each enemy unit that was targeted by this unit's attacks in the phase. Add 2 if the unit was targeted by all this unit's attacks that phase. On a 5+, the Strike Last effect applies to that unit until the end of the turn. So if you don't split your attacks, then on a 5+, they strike last. Nah, neat, I guess. The Harvester, it doesn't. Sorry, I should say it doesn't have a damage table anymore. That is the biggest difference. I forgot to mention that. No damage table. Doesn't ever get worse. Just is the way it is all the time. That is a big glow up. The Gothazar Harvester, on the other hand, also lost his damage table, which is amazing. And it's got its 10 wounds, 4+ save, 6-inch move, same core stats. The Death's Head's Maw, 16-inch range, flat now forever. 4 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1/1 damage. The Soul Cleaver Sickle or Soul Crusher Bludgeons. 6 attacks, 3s and 3s, -2/2 damage. So it's the same, just like flattened now. And then the Bludgeons, 4 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1/2 damage. That's the ossified hooves and tail. So no matter what you arm it with, its weapons are all the same. And then Bone Harvest. Roll a dice each time a slain model within 6 of this unit is removed from play. If the slain model is within range of more than one friendly unit with this ability, pick one. On a 4+, pick a friendly Ossiarch Bonereapers unit within 6. If a slain model has a wound characteristic of 4 or less, heal a wound. If the slain model has a wound characteristic of 5 or more, heal 3 wounds. If no wounds have been allocated, bring back slain models equal to that. So he basically recycles all the dead guys nearby. That's a huge quality of life improvement for both those units, just having them not degrade, having them be the same all the time. Yay that. I'm super into that. I think that's great. More of that in AoS. All right, Morghasts. They're the big boys of the other units. I do like the Morghasts. They're actually some of the oldest Warhammer Fantasy Battle models, I think, besides Nagash, that are still in this army. All right, core stats. Gain to move. They're both 10-inch move now. For the Harbingers, we're looking at Spirit Swords are 5 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1/2 damage. They're the same. Spirit Halberds, 3s and 3s, -2/3 damage. They're the same. They fly. They are Heralds of the Accursed One. Enemy units cannot receive commands within 3 of them. And then Grim Opponents. If you make an unmodified roll of 8+ for a charge, for this unit, the Strike First ability applies to them. And then on Wings of Malice, they can deep strike, basically. You can set them aside during deployment. They can come out with a 9. That's a serious quality of life improvement in that they just stop commands from happening against them. That is there's a big deal to that because it stops people from being able to like improve their save or improve their ability to hit them. And the Archai, again, same improvement to their movement. Their Spirit Halberds are the same. Their Spirit Swords are the same. They are also Heralds of the Accursed One. They are also Grim Opponents. And then Necromantic Custodians. The unit has a 5+ ward if it's wholly within 12 of any Ossiarch Bonereapers heroes. So the big unit is one can deep strike and the other one gets the ward save. All right, it's Mir Kanan and Kanan's Reapers. Did they change it all? I don't think they did, but I will look. Mir Kanan. He is... Oh, he's got a better save and 2 extra wounds. He did change. Cool. They don't often change the stuff from Underworlds. His axe gained an attack and 2 inches of range. So 2-inch range, 5 attacks, 3s and 3s, -2/2 damage. He can cast an Unbind 1 still. He's got way more abilities. The Bone Tithe. This unit has a tithe score at the start of the battle of 0. Each time an enemy model is slain by its attacks, increase it by 1. If it has 4 more wounds, increase it by 2 instead. At the start of your hero phase, if this unit has a tithe score of 1 or more, reduce the tithe score by 1 and pick one of the following abilities. Either Built for War, pick a friendly Kanan's unit Reapers, return 3 slain models to that unit, and then Invigorated until your next hero phase. Add one of the attack characteristic of the weapons used by this unit and the friendly Kanan's Reapers wholly within 6 of it. So him and his unit gets better. And then his spell Dire Ultimatum is casting value of 4 and a range of 3. Pick an enemy unit within range invisible to the caster until your next hero phase. Any attacks made with the melee weapons by that unit must target this unit, and the range of the spell must be measured from the caster, even if the ability would be allowing you to measure from somewhere else. So he's gotten tougher, and he pulls the attacks to him. His Reapers are still basically the same, but they all have 2 wounds now. Oh my god. So yeah, they all have 2 wounds, move 5, 4+ save, bravery 10. They still have 2 attacks with their bows, and there's a blade, a halberd, a club, a dagger, and a great blade. Dark Efficiency. If the friendly Mir Kanan unit is within 3 inches of this unit, before you allocate a wound or mortal wound to that hero, on a 2+, it goes to them instead. And then Tithe Reapers. Each model in this unit counts as 3 models for controlling objectives. They're actually a really cool unit. I love that. And they are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 models in this unit. So there's 10 wounds in that unit, and he brings 3 back as long as he kills something every turn. So he brings 6 wounds back every turn. Crazy. And then we're into Endless Spells. and the terrain piece. Endless spells are... Oh, I have to hit show? No, don't I? No. Endless spells, there they are. We've got the the Nightmare Predator. And it is... Cast on 5, range 12. A wizard is in a garrison cannot attempt to summon the endless spell. This endless spell is bonded to the model that summoned it. A bonded endless spell is always controlled by the model to which it's bonded. A model cannot be bonded to more than one endless spell. If they die, it's removed from play. Death Incarnate. After this endless spell is moved, roll a dice for each unit that has any models it's passed across. On a 2+, take D3 mortal wounds. Then the commanding player can pick one unit within one of the endless spell, and on a 2 to 5, nothing happens. Sorry, 1, nothing happens. 2 to 5, they take D3 mortal wounds. On a 6, take D6 mortal wounds. And the Bonereapers are immune to it. Cool. Predatory endless spell that flies. 8 inches. So a neat fighty spell. The Carrion, it is cast on 6. Set up anywhere on the battlefield that's visible to the caster and more than one from the enemy. It's predatory, it flies 8 inches. It's bonded just like the other ones. And then Ossiarch Sentry. Models with a wound characteristic of 1 or 2 that are within 6 of this endless spell cannot contest objectives. Woof! It doesn't affect Ossiarch Bonereapers units. That's a great endless spell. And then the Shrieker. The Bone-Tithe Shrieker. The many faces. It casts on 5, range 12. Set up in range visible. And then predatory. It can fly and move 8 inches. It's also bonded. And then Portent of Doom. Units cannot receive inspiring presence or rally commands while they're within 12 of this endless spell. Doesn't affect Bonereapers. And then no escape, -1 from ward rolls for units within 12 of this endless spell. That does not affect Bonereapers. And then finally, the Bone-Tithe Nexus. It's impassable. Set it up in your territory, not within 3. Deadly Gaze. In your hero phase, you can choose this terrain feature to deliver one of the following punishments. Either Agony, pick an enemy within 18, and roll a die, invisible. Add 1 to the roll if any enemy models were slain within 12 of this terrain feature. On a 4+, it's -1 to hit. Punishment of Death, pick an enemy unit within 18, invisible, and roll a die. Add 1 if the enemy models were slain. On a 4+, take D3 mortal wounds. Ignorance, pick a wizard or priest within 18 in this terrain feature and roll a die. Add 1 to the if anyone was slain. On a 4+, they're -1 from chanting and praying rolls. And then Lethargy, 18 invisible, +1 if anyone was slain within 12, and then roll a die. On a 4+, the unit cannot run into your next hero phase. In addition, subtract 3 from charge rolls. You'd be -6 if you had that command trait on top of it. Cool, versatile defensive piece. So yeah, we're looking at like relatively similar point values, except for a few like slight changes. The Crawler's 200 points now. The Carvelo's Death Dealer's 170. The Mortec Guards are 150 for 10. The Arch Cavalos Xantos is 200. Catacross is 440. Liege Cavalos is 180. Mirror Cannon and his Reapers is 250 for all of them. Bone Shaper's 120. Os Effector's 120. Soul Mason's 160. Soul Reaper's 120. Vokmortian, the Master of the Bone-Tithe, is 140. Arcan's only 370. Nagash is 965. The Harvester's 210. The Mortis Guard are 200. The Archai and Harbingers are 240 respectively. Now they will be battle line if your general is a Mortesian, and the Guard are, and the Archai are battle line if Nagash or Archon is your general. And then Morghast Harbingers, Immortus Guard are if battle line if your general is a Mortesian, and then Nagash or Archon make the big guys, the Morghasts, all battle line. The Necropolis Stalkers also, if your general's Mortesian, can be battle line. And the Shrieker's 50, the Predator's 40, the Carrion is 40, and the Bone-Tithe Nexus is free. They get no allies whatsoever. I don't know, I think it's cool. I could see you could make an extremely elite army. I think Catacross is way more viable now that he gets all of his abilities all the time, and 440 is not that expensive. You could still take like him and then a Bone Shaper, and give the Bone Shaper the command trait where you're minus to charge. Or the Os Effector, because I like the heals in the Bone Shaper. Heck, you could take him and Archon in one of those and still have 1,000 points left for like other stuff. And then just like pad out with like Immortus Guard. I really like the Necropolis Stalkers now. I think they've got some legs now that they do like that insane movement. So like Immortus Guard, if your general's a Mortesian, because you could have the War Master and still have him be one. So Mortesian, and then like the Bone Shaper maybe, and then have Stalker, Immortus Guard for 660, 780, throwing Cat across. You're looking at 1220. Got another 800 points for fun stuff. You've got all your battle line covered because you've taken 2 units of Stalkers and Immortus Guard. So you can take like backup battle line basically in the form of the, actually you could start taking some Crawlers for 200. Get yourself to 1660 with some Crawlers and then throw in some Mortec Guard. 1660, 300 points for 2 units of Mortec Guard. You're looking at 1960, and then take the Predator or the Carrion. Actually the Carrion, so people can't hold objectives. 2,000 points, bam! You got all the stuff. Lots of models, tons of wounds, tons of healing, tons of artillery. Yeah, I'd be into that. So it is a neat list. It feels like, I don't know, it feels like a Primera Space Marine army playing in Age of Sigmar. I'd be excited to give it a go. And I love the models. So big thanks for watching. We'll see you for more GMG reviews in the future. I'm Ash. Hey there, I hope you enjoyed that video. There are tons of other games already recorded for you to watch. Click over to my channel page if you haven't already, and have a look through the dozens of playlists full of videos. I guarantee you'll discover a game you haven't seen played before. I put out new videos 7 days a week, and every day is themed to a different genre as I continue to explore the wider world of gaming. Of course, none of that's possible without you, the viewer, so click a like and subscribe if you'd like to stay on top of what's happening here daily. My 2 kids and I are massively grateful to be able to have the flexibility of this job so I can always maximize my time with them. If you want to support me continuing to put out this content, it's only possible because of my amazing backers on Patreon who support the studio, equipment, and model costs, as well as being how I make the bulk of my living. You can also help out by buying a t-shirt through Spreadshirt, a measuring gauge or widget from Death Ray Designs, or buying one of my games and supplements like Last Days, Gamma Wolves, and Blaster. As a way of showing my appreciation, patrons get early access to new games and supplements that I write throughout the course of the year. Huge thanks for watching, it really does help out, and happy gaming.